the deal. That's the deal. The mu'min in this dunya, subhanAllah, when we come to the dunya for the mu'min is completely different, because I said this in his hand. He's not worried about it. There is people in this dunya slave to the dollars, slave to the money, slave to the materialistic things. You know, I have seen people, they go through trouble. Why? The fashion change. I cannot wear this anymore. Abd dunya. A servant, a slave. She's a slave to the fashion. It changed, I have to change it. Even if she's not convinced, but that's it. She is, or he is a slave. You know, I have to change this because now nobody wear. So what? No. You know, people willing to sacrifice anything for the money. Abd dinar, Nabi Sallallahu called. A slave for the gold and slave for the silver. And if you're not, you're a slave to those who owns the silver and the gold. That's why, subhanAllah, the mu'min have dignity. I'm never going to give it because of a career, or because of a job, or because of a boss, or because of a wife, or because of a husband. I have a dignity. I'm not going to be enslaved to anyone other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why when the Muslim went to Iraq, it was ironic, when the Muslim first arrived to Iraq, what was the banner of the Muslim? Free the Iraqi people. Those are different. What they brought to Iraq, what the freedom that they brought to Iraq. Exactly, this is the words that they use. جئنا لنخرج العباد من عبادة العباد إلى عبادة رب العباد. We came to free people from being enslaved by some individuals or dictators or anyone to be only slave to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Ibn al-Qayyim have said it clearly. هربوا من الرق الذي خلقوا له فبلوا برق النفس والشيطان. If you run away from being a slave to Allah, you end up slave to the shaitan or your own desires. That's it. The only one you free yourself from being slave to your own desires or the shaitan is to be a slave to Allah. And the mu'min, when he leaves free in this dunya, that's where, you know what, I'm above the dunya. I'm not under it. It's in my hand, it's not in my heart. It's a servant, it's not a master for me. And the mu'min lives like this, where the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and feeling the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your life give you that strength, that quwwah. There's no fear. There is one Imam, his name Ibn al-Jammal, Egyptian. He lived during the Tuluni states. The Tuluni states, they were very fascinated with the Romans' ideas of throwing individual with animals like lions and stuff like that. They used to do this a lot. Okay? So they brought this Shaykh and they threw him in the court. And the king was watching. The lion came and started sniffing the Shaykh while he's making. The Shaykh started praying. So he was praying. And while he's tashahhud, the lion came and sniffing his hand and, licking his hand. And he sat next to him like a dog. Like a dog. So the king saw this and he said, this must be a saint and I'm missing out. Don't mess with a saint. And he took him out and said to him to go to the Azhar or whatever, to the masjid after that, and nobody will touch him. So when he came back, the student asked him, what you were thinking that moment? We were thinking at that moment, when the lion was like sniffing and licking your hand, what's your feeling? He said, I was thinking if the lion will be like, his saliva will be najis or pure. So my salat is. Wallahi, an iman makes you different person. Simak, a great scholar, he was in the presence of one of the most brutal leaders among the Abbasis. And this brutal leader is the Abbasi Khalifa. He's a killer, killing machine. No, he doesn't care about your life. Worth nothing for him. One day after, like all this, he was against his rebels. Anyway, he gathered some of the scholars, among them Simak, the dictator. And a fly started bothering him. He cursed the fly. He said, لعن الله الذباب. يا سماك لما خلق الله الذباب? He said, Simak, why am I creating fly? قال ليذل به أنوف الطغاة. So through it, Allah humiliated dictators. That's why Allah created for. To humiliate dictators like yourself. You think you're all powerful. That's something. Iman is different. It made the person live this life in a completely different attitude. No matter what happened, I am always knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with me. And you go through this life. ستفضي بك الأيام في بعض موضها إلى ساعة لا ساعة لك بعدها. Days carry you one day after another to a moment when there is no more moments, to a second when there is no more seconds. It's the moment of your death, where your body start losing the soul that's been attached to your body all these years. It's now about time to leave it. It's such a hard thing to think about. And sometimes when you're so attached to an old car, to sell it, kind of hard to let it go. Unless you have a car you really hate. But something you love, and you have memory, t-shirt, house, and you leave it, and you're so attached to it, very hard to let it go. Can you imagine your soul that's so attached to you all these years, and you separate them from each other? That's why that's why the soul needs to be pulled out. It will not leave your body by itself, because it's so attached to it, and the angel take it out. But at that moment, remember that you are different because you are a believer. إن الذين قالوا ربنا الله ثم استقاموا تتنزل عليهم الملائكة ألا تخافوا ولا تحزنوا وأبشروا بالجنة التي كنتم توعدون. At the moment of death, those who said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is our Lord and they stood fast, the angel will be descending, telling them, لا تخافوا ولا تحزنوا. Don't be afraid and don't be worried. Don't be afraid about the future. Don't worry about that. People that you're leaving behind. Don't worry about anything. Because at that moment, you see your status in Jannah or in Hellfire. Recently, I was reading to one of the brothers, one of the du'at, that he said that he witnessed the death of a young lady. Young lady, she's in her 20s. And in her death, in the hospital, she stated up before, they told her, say La ilaha illallah. She said, what La ilaha illallah? She's a Muslim country. She said, what La ilaha illallah? قال قولي لا إله. قال إيش لا إله إلا الله؟ والله إني أرى مقعدي في النار. You wallahi, this is the last thing that she said. He said, wallahi, I see my place in the hellfire. And she died. He said, I witnessed a lot of people died in the hospital. But something like this, I never seen in my life. He said, this is the last thing she said before she died. The person, the mu'min is different. The mu'min see the angel. The Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, al-mu'min ruhu takhruj kal-qatra min fi as-siqa. It's like when you basically pour the water out of the bottle, comes smooth, your soul. Al-kafir knows the soul doesn't want to leave the body because it knows where it's going to happen to it. The mu'min, the soul, when you see the angels, they are shining faces and coming to collect your soul. Al-mu'min, at that time, the angel greet him and take him in a special garment they brought with them from the paradise. And he stays in good life. The soul of the believers, the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ نَسَمَةَ الْمُؤْمِنِ طَائِرٌ يَعْلَقُ فِي أَشْجَارِ الْجَنَّةِ. The soul of the believers, it will be turned into turn into the shape of a bird sitting on the trees of paradise until the day of judgment comes, and Allah will send the soul back to the body after Allah recreate the body again. So it stays in this place in Jannah until the day of judgment starts. And when the day of judgment starts, إِذَا نُفِخَ فِي الصُّورِ, when the trumpet will be blown, and the earth will be shaken, and the graves will be opened, and people will come out of the earth from every corner in the earth, and people see the stars are not exist, the mountains turn to dust, the seas turn to fire. Something unbelievable. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, describing the greatness of this day, يَوْمَ تَرَوْنَهَا تَذْهَلُ كُلُّ مُرْضِعَةٍ عَمَّا أَرْضَعَتْ وَتَضَعُ كُلُّ ذَاتِ حَمْلٍ حَمْلَهَا وَتَرَى النَّاسَ سُكَارَى وَمَا هُمْ بِسُكَارَى وَلَكِنَّ عَذَابَ اللَّهِ شَدِيدٌ. You see people think they're like drunk, and they're not. They just overwhelmed. They are speechless. وَأَنذِرْهُمْ يَوْمَ الْحَسْرَةِ, the day of regret. Wallahi, we are not in the day of regret yet. وَيَوْمَ يُنفَخُ فِي وَنُفِخَ فِي الصُّورِ فَفَزِعَ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. The trumpet is blown, and everybody in the earth, the heavens, is terrified. Everyone? No. Except إِلَّا مَنْ شَاءَ اللَّهِ. Except those who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will, to give them sense of security at that time. Who are they? They are the believers. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so merciful. Allah made a promise, brothers and sisters. If you fear the day of judgment today, you will be safe at that day. If you care less about it today, you will fear it tomorrow. لا يجمع الله على مؤمن خوفين في قلبه. من خاف القيامة في الدنيا أمن يوم القيامة. Allah will never make your heart fear the day of judgment twice. If you fear it in the dunya, you will be safe in the day of judgment. You will be safe in the day of judgment. Those who fear it in the dunya, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Insan, إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكُورًا إِنَّا نَخَافُ مِنْ رَبِّنَا يَوْمًا عَبُوسًا قَمْطَرِيرًا فَوَقَاهُمُ اللَّهُ شَرَّ ذَلِكَ الْيَوْمِ. الله أكبر. إِنَّا نَخَافُ مِنْ رَبِّنَا يَوْمًا عَبُوسًا قَمْطَرِيرًا. We fear that day. It's a hard day. Then the result, فَوَقَاهُمُ اللَّهُ شَرَّ. Allah protect them that day. In that day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لا يحزنهم الفزع الأكبر وتتلقاهم الملائكة هذا يومكم الذي كنتم توعدون. The angels coming to welcome them in the day of judgment said, this is the day we promised. Your reward, promised to see your reward, promised to see your Lord. You should not be afraid. You should not be scared this day. In that day, brothers and sisters, the believers take their book with the right hands. Honor, subhanAllah, in front of their face like this. From whom? From Allah Jalla Jalal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered the book to be given to you. And you take it, and in it written your name and your destiny. Where do you go? Your name, so and so, Ahmed.